My name is Nino and welcome back to my channel. I've been thinking a lot about what to do with this channel and I have decided to film videos both in Georgian and English so everyone can feel included. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about all of the books that I read ever since I moved here. Side note, I did have a really big reading slump in 2023 and I didn't read for a whole year. I mean, it happens sometimes. I was really stressed at the time with school and college and it was just all a big mess, but it's not a lot of books that I'm going to be talking about today, but I feel like it's going to be interesting considering the fact that book talk and book YouTube is on the rise. So yeah, if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe, hit that like button, and comment on what you would like to see next. The first book that I read when I moved here was Beach Read by Emily Henry. It was a book that made me fall in love with reading, and it's just such a good book that makes you feel all warm and fuzzy. And I'm not gonna go into full detail considering the fact that I already did a full review on this book on my channel. So if you want to watch that, the link will be in the description. But yeah, this is a fantastic book and Emily Henry has such a way with her words. She writes beautifully and 10 out of 10 would recommend to everyone. I've actually recommended it to a lot of people who don't normally read romance, and this was actually, in my opinion, a really interesting turn on romance. So yeah, 10 out of 10 would recommend. The next book that I read here was a book by an author that has recently been included in a lot of controversy, and I just found out about it. Like, this is fresh information for me, so safe to say that I won't be reading their books anymore. But yeah, I have a lot of books by them because when I moved here, I looked up books on TikTok and I just read everything on Book Talk. So yeah, but I will still be talking about it since that's what I read when I moved here. But yeah, I don't support anything that's going on in that issue. If you want to know what issue it is, just look it up because I don't want to talk about it here. But yeah, let's get on with the video. The next book is It Ends With Us by Evelyn Hugo. It's an interesting book. I enjoyed it a lot. It sucks that it was ruined by this issue, but I really loved it. I love a book that will make me cry, like make me sob, make my eyes turn red, make my heart beat fast, where I have to put down the book and walk away and just think about it for a second. So this book really did that for me. And yeah, I would give this a 10 out of 10. It's a really interesting, heart-wrenching story about Lily and her life when she met her husband, Ryle Kincaid. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. She has a really tragic, sad childhood, and that childhood is repeating well into her adulthood with her now husband. And then she meets her first love, and she's all over the place. It's really good. I really like it. It's like a short summary that I gave you because I don't want to go into too much detail. Maybe you haven't read it and then you want to read it. So yeah, I would give it a 10 out of 10. I really liked it. My 16-year-old self was sobbing to this, so really good. The next book that I read was the gut-wrenching, the sad, the depressing Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller. As someone whose first language is not English, it was kind of hard for me to read this book because it was written in a way that was hard for me to understand. Like after every 2 words, I had to look up what that word meant. It was very hard. This book is a retelling of the Trojan War from Patroclus' perspective. And in this book, we see how Patroclus and Achilles meet and how their relationship progresses as time goes on. And it's a really interesting book. It's a really informative book as well. I usually don't read books like this, so it was really interesting to see how hooked I was on it, even though I had a lot of difficulty reading it. If I were to rate this book out of 10, I would give it a 7.5 or an 8, just because it was really hard for me to read as someone whose first language is not English. But overall, it was really good. At the end, I sobbed, I cried, I ripped my hair out of my head. It was really good, really informative. I learned a lot, but if it were written in a more easier way, I would have enjoyed it more. I usually don't like to say anything mean about books that I read because these authors put all of their time and hard work in it, and it would be mean if I said anything bad. But the next book that I'm going to show you is the book that I wish that I never read, and it's Ugly Love by Evelyn Hugo. For me, this book was too sexual. I mean, I can handle a little bit of spice, but every 2 scenes is too much. That's my personal opinion. If you like books like this, then it's totally up to you if you want to read it or not. I wouldn't recommend it to anyone, but it's up to you. This book follows the story of Tate and Miles and how they have a friends with benefits situation. There's not a lot that I can tell you about this because, like I said, it's spice every 2 scenes. So there's not a lot of story, but there is a happy ending that I really liked. So if you want that, that's for you. I would give this, I don't want to give it a 0. I would give it a 3. It's not for me. I don't like it. I wouldn't recommend it to anyone. Sorry to anyone affected, but yeah, I don't like this book. It's low-key a toxic book too, if we really look at it. But yeah, 3 out of 10. The next book that I read is my all-time favorite that I will recommend 1,000 times over, even more than Beach Read, is The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo by Taylor Jenkins Reid. This book means so much to me. It's such a good book. It's such an interesting book. It's such a gut-wrenching book. Like I said, I love to read books that make me sob my eyes out. This book follows the iconic Hollywood star Evelyn Hugo, and basically in this story we see how she got to her fame and where she was during the 1980s in Hollywood, and on the way she had 7 husbands, and she was known for that really because it was crazy during that time. And she talks about it with a journalist, and basically she sums up her entire life, and it's a really good book. We see this side of the story that no one's really seen before. Like, everyone just assumes that just because she has 7 husbands that something must be wrong with her, but they never consider the fact on why she did what she did. And yeah, it's a really good book. I really enjoy it. I really love it. There's a lot of plot twists in this book, and the layout of the book is fantastic. The way it's written is wonderful. It's so interesting. It's so fun. It's like you're reading, but it's like a documentary. I really love it. 100 out of 10. Like I said, I have a lot of Colleen Hoover books. The next book that I read was November 9 by Colleen Hoover. Personally, I really liked this book. It was really interesting, and it was a good romance too. This story follows Fallon and Ben. Fallon is about to do her cross-country move to pursue her acting career, and she's in a diner with her father, and she has a really shaky relationship with her father. And that's when Ben comes in, and they pretend to be together, and they have an ultimate attraction to one another. And then they decided to meet every year on November 9th because that's when they met the first time. So yeah, it's a really good book. It has a lot of plot twists as well. A lot of the books that I have read have a lot of plot twists and a lot of scenes that you can cry your eyes out to. And yeah, this was a really cute book. I really liked it. It was filled with such fuzzy, romancy moments as well as tragic ones. It's like a perfect balance between the 2 worlds that I love. So it was a really good book. It was very well written. And again, I'll say this, that it sucks that it has to be ruined by the controversy, but it is what it is. I would give this a 10 out of 10. This book has a really big soft spot in my heart, and it's They Both Die at the End by Adam Silvera. This book was recommended to me by a friend, and I remember I finished it in study hall and I yelled on the top of my lungs at the end. Even though the title really spoils it for you, they both die at the end, but I didn't expect them to die in a way that they did at the end of the book. So I remember screaming, and I was like, oh my god, no! And my teacher was like, Nino, can you keep it down, please? In this story, we see Deathcast. Deathcast calls people and informs them that you're going to die in 24 hours. And they'll tell you what resources are available to you, what to do, what not to do. And they tell you it was lovely to have you this lifetime, whatever. And they also talk to you about your gravestone and what to put on it. and it's a really surreal and tragic experience, and it's all different for different people. And our main characters, Rufus Emeterio and Mateo Torres, also get a call. Among the resources, there's an app called Last Friend, where basically you go in, type in all of your information, make an account, and you find the very last friend that you'll have in your life. And Mateo makes an account and he meets Rufus, who also received a call. I've recommended this book to a lot of people, and there have been different types of thoughts. Some people didn't read it at all because it was already spoiled that they are going to die at the end, or some people read it and they're like, I would have enjoyed it a lot more if I didn't know whether or not they were going to die. But I think that way the story wouldn't make sense, because the story is built on Death Cast and Last Friends, so you would still know whether or not they were going to die at the end. So I feel like the story wouldn't be what it is today if we didn't know if they were going to die at the end or not, if there were going to be an exception. But yeah, I really like this book because it really kept me at the edge of my seat. Like, you could be walking across the street, drinking tea, and you're thinking, okay, they're going to die. This is the end, and you're already crying, and you're tragic, and it's like, okay, it's done. It's gonna be done. But no, it's not done. And you're then stuck thinking about what's going to be next. And yeah, I really liked it. I adore this book, and it's so sad, but it's so good. And I heard that there's a sequel that just came out, so I want to read that as well. And I want to know what happens next, who is in the next story. And yeah, 10 out of 10. An easy 10 out of 10. Next book is one of my all-time favorite authors, Evelyn Henry. It's Book Lovers. This story follows Nora, who is a literary agent, and her entire life is books. And she agrees to go to a trip to a small town that was mentioned once in a book with her sister Libby for the entire month of August. And in that town, she keeps bumping into this editor, Charlie. And that's when their rivalry / enemies to lovers / slow burn romance starts. I personally really like this book. It is a classic romance book. It's so cute, so fuzzy, so warm. Yeah, it was really entertaining to read. The only downside to it is that the slow burn romance is too slow. And let me explain. What I meant by slow burn romance being too slow is that the story was too stretched, in my opinion. Like, it was too slow. We went by not baby steps, the smaller version of baby steps, like tiniest steps towards romance. And personally, in my opinion, I like a book that is not too slow burn, but it's also slow burn, like the perfect balance of two. So that's the only downside to it. Other than that, it's, as always, written beautifully. It's described beautifully, the scenery, the characters. I love it. I would give it a 9 out of 10. As you can see, I dread talking about this author, but the next book that I read is It Starts With Us by Colleen Hoover, which is a sequel of It Ends With Us. I'm not gonna say it's a bad book. It's not a bad book. It's pretty, it's cute, it's sweet. It follows the end of this story, and it shows us a whole new life for Lily, which is really cute, really nice. She deserves it. I'm gonna give it a 9 out of 10 because I feel like when you've written one hit book, there's no need for a sequel. But this one worked, but I would have liked it without the sequel as well. So 9 out of 10. Next book that I read is Emma by Jane Austen, but this is a Georgian version, and the only Georgian version I could find was the kids version, so it has a lot of illustrations. Oh, hold on. A lot of illustrations inside, and it's really entertaining to read with illustrations. I don't know why we feel like kids' books should be the only ones to have illustrations. This story follows the beautiful, young, rich Emma Woodhouse who lives with her father in Highbury, and until 21 she had no worries until her governess marries a man and she moves away, and she's now left alone with her father, and her governess was like a mother to her, so she is very sad. Emma feels like she has great matchmaking abilities, and she plays matchmaker with everyone, including her new friend Harriet. I really enjoyed this. I haven't read a Jane Austen book before, so this was very fun. I really liked it, and the illustration in this book made it so much better, so I would give it a 10 out of 10. The last book that I have read was actually, surprisingly, at the end of 2023. It was like mid-December, which was my year of rest and relaxation by Altessa, and I can't pronounce the last name, but I'll try, Marshfeg. This book follows a young Columbia graduate. There isn't a name for the main character. I think it's up for debate. She has this really big hole in her heart, like not an actual hole, Jesus, no. She lived a rich life. She is an orphan. She experienced some tragic events in her past, but she has a big inheritance that covers basically everything in her life. She had a job. She had a boyfriend that she recently lost. She lost that job as well. And the only person that she has left is her best friend, which she's also irritated with, but also has a lot of love for her. But none of those things are causing the big hole that is in her heart. So she tries to figure out what's happening and fill that hole with a year of rest and relaxation, where she goes to a psychiatrist and lies about her symptoms to get pills that will make her insomnia go away and make her sleep the entire year. It's a very interesting book. It talks about how she's feeling on those pills and what she's experiencing when she's out of them. And it's a very interesting perspective on life and tragedy. I feel like, that's how I interpreted it. It's however you want to see it, you see it. The ending was a little bit weird for me. I feel like it didn't connect to the story. I don't know. I feel like it twists and turned in a way, but overall, I liked it. I would give it an 8 out of 10. And if you like books like this, I would recommend it to you. But this was something out of my comfort zone, and I've been recommended this book for a while. I can't say it exceeded my expectations, but I would give it an 8 out of 10. That's all that I have for you guys today. I hope you enjoyed it. I've always wanted to film a video like this, and so I personally enjoyed it a lot. Thank you so much for watching. If you'd like to see more, please make sure to hit that subscribe button and like it, and comment down below what books you have read or your opinions on any of those books, and I'll see you next time. Bye.